First of all, I want to congratulate Dave Filoni for his promotion within Lucasfilm. He's now going to be much more heavily involved in the creative side of things, which a lot of fans wanted, and I think he's the right guy for the job. He's the last guy to really speak to George Lucas on a really thorough level. He has produced hundreds of episodes of Star Wars television now and directed a few himself, and he definitely has a direction, and that's the important thing is he has an idea of where he wants to go with the story, which was the big problem with Disney when it came to the sequel trilogy. So at least Disney now is course correcting the mistakes they've made in the past, and I think we should give them credit for that, including Kathy Kennedy. A lot of fans on the internet really hate Kathy Kennedy, and I understand to a degree, like, why, because the sequel trilogy was, an abortion. Sorry to say that, but it was. And at the same time, though, nobody ever credits the good stuff she does when she makes the right decisions, like bringing in Jon Favreau and promoting Dave Filoni. So ultimately, that is a good thing, that she finally recognizes, okay, we fucked up. Let's see what we can do to improve this. And now it looks like they're doing it. So speaking of Dave Filoni, Bad Batch Episode 4. We're continuing the adventures of the Bad Batch. This time, the plot centers around them running out of supplies, food and oil, or it's not even oil, whatever. It's rations. And they have to stop on a planet. And when they stop on this planet, very Star Trek-esque format here. When they stop on this planet, Omega gets into trouble with this bounty hunter, and it becomes a situation where it becomes like the Bad Batch trying to rescue Omega. So it really seems like the show's going to surround itself around Omega, which I've said before, I'm not sure that's really a good idea. A lot of times these kid characters come off very annoying. Ahsoka was really annoying early on, so hopefully Omega will have a turnaround like the Ahsoka character did, in the later episodes of the Clone Wars. But I am concerned about it. It's not bothering me right now, but I am concerned about where this is going forward. You know what I'm saying? This episode came off like an episode of Star Trek in the sense of, like, I didn't want Bad Batch to be like this, but it seems to be episodic. And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, we have to stop on this planet because of this reason. And I really hope it doesn't end up being that way the entire season, but that's what this felt like. One thing I did appreciate, though, is, again, with this episode, we're seeing sort of the conversion of the galaxy going from the Republic to the Empire. There's a lot of, it's a transitional period right now. The galaxy in a form of transitional period. And because of that, it's difficult for anybody to really know who's good, who's bad, what's really going on. It's kind of a state of confusion in a way. And can you imagine if this happened in the real world, if you lived in like a democratic society like the UK or the US, and it got taken over by a dictator and it became imperialistic, it's already kind of imperialistic, but if it became an actual empire, can you imagine, how strange that would be of a transition? I mean, that's what's going on right now. And I always appreciate the world building, the planets, the new worlds, and seeing how they sort of react to the Empire. I would have loved it, and they couldn't fit it into Revenge of the Sith. Maybe we'll see it in this show if they would have shown a lot of the other planets like Naboo or Tatooine sort of reacting to the Emperor proclaiming the new galactic empire what it was. That would have been interesting, I think. Honestly, we would have seen that all across the board. But, they're doing their best here with the Bad Batch. They did have an Easter egg for Fennec from The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. So, as expected, Dave Filoni ties in the old stuff with the new stuff and the prequel era stuff with the, sequel era stuff. And that's just stuff that he does, which is probably why he got promoted, because he is good at tying the entire Star Wars mythos together, even the stuff that he didn't come up with, like the stuff that Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams, George Lucas, and other creatives came up with. Even Timothy Zahn with Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was able to take that character and kind of bring him into the modern world of Star Wars. So, again, this is why Filoni got promoted, because he knows his Star Wars and he's able to, figure these things out, And actually, I called it an Easter egg, but it's really not an Easter egg. I shouldn't have called it that earlier in the review. She was a part of this episode. That's not really an Easter egg. That she's actually a part of this episode. It wasn't like you were supposed to find it like, oh, look, it's Fennec. No, she was here, you know. But it's interesting because the people of Kamino are involved. So one of the things I will tell you is I was never really into the Fennec character from The Mandalorian. I just wasn't. I never got into her that much. But like here, if she's working for the Caminos, or at least in league with them or whatever, I'm wondering if, like, I wonder what that story is. Because that part of the story is interesting. Kamino's always been really interesting to me as a Star Wars fan. Since seeing Attack of the Clones. The way the aliens look, the fact they made the clones, like, all that stuff is really interesting to me. And seeing how it ties into Fennec and the sequel trilogy. Like, will we see the Kaminoans in The Mandalorian Season 3? Or in Book of Boba Fett? I don't know about Boba Fett, but I think there is a possibility we could in Mandalorian Season 3. And I hope so. Because I like that world. I like that whole look. You know, I remember playing Battlefront 2 and having those battles on Kamino. They were fun. But anyways, having her in league with them or hired by them, you know, it's just a way to squeeze that character in, you know. And I just, it's coming off like Rebels, where we're going to have a situation where we have episodes that have guest stars. They're very episodic, and I don't like that. And I agree with what Star Wars Theory said in his review, because I did watch his review because it went up hours ago, and he talked about how, and I almost never watch other YouTubers' reviews before doing mine, but I did see the episodes and I saw his review. He talked about how it would have been better if this were like 7 one-hour episodes instead of 14 like 30-minute ones, and I agree with him on that. Having it be more episodes does not mean it'll be a better show, because it gives the audience more of a chance to like give up on it or just postpone it for later. And sometimes they don't even like come back to it. Like, you know how sometimes you want to watch a show and you're like, okay, well, I'll watch some other time. Then you never get back to it. Like, that happened to me with Walking Dead. Like, I saw the first season of Walking Dead. I never was able to finish it. I just never had time. You know, other things came up. And so the more they prolong this show, I understand you want to keep fans buying Disney Plus, but like, dude, like, if these episodes aren't like, are going to just be episodic side quests, like, I just feel like that formula lends itself better to it being on television as opposed to a streaming service, you know. Again, they're very similar, don't get me wrong, but I personally feel like the world has evolved beyond episodic storytelling for the most part. Even though Mandalorian had some of it, it still was less episodes. Having 14 episodes where the only ones that matter are the first, the middle, and the last, people are just going to skip around, you know, and they're probably never going to go back and watch the old episodes again, you know. For Clone Wars, you could, because they had arcs. That's why I'm waiting for this show to have arcs, like have like 4 episode bunches of storylines. At least then, you know, we're going to be invested short term and long term. I think that works. You know, X-Men the animated series did that. I think that works. I think that it works better for Star Wars doing it that way. Only my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I just feel like I'm just very worried that here we are in episode 4, and it was good. I didn't hate it or anything, but episode 2 and episode 4 were kind of like, you don't have to watch them. You do not have to watch them. At least I don't think you do. At least not yet. Whereas episode 1 was amazing and episode 3 was pretty good too, and actually established some things. 1 and 4 felt like filler. So that's my opinion. What did you think? Let me know. I'll talk to you soon.